All right, we are live. How you doing, Jose?
Amazing.
He just got a new tool, which I am jealous of. I have it. I'm looking at it here, but it's not set up right. I got to get Ricky to get it set up for me, that stream deck. That's how I'm feeling right now, Ricky. Just so you know if you're watching, bro. So I asked you before we jumped on, and I was like, what do we want to talk about? And you're like, bro, the only thing that we need to be talking about right now, which is price reduction. So I've been hearing across the country, from California to Florida, because we are coast to coast, that inventory is sitting for longer. Mm-hmm. If a property is not like A plus 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 location, A plus 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 plus, kind of condition, that stuff is still, flying off the shelf. Everything else is not. Inventory is climbing. And I was on a group call this week with actually one of our partners in California, Jose, and he was like, yeah, dude, inventory's climbing and nothing seems to be selling. I said, nope, that's not accurate. He said, what do you mean? I said, agents lack the skill of being able to help somebody to self-discover that their expectations on price is not in alignment with the market, namely how to get a price adjustment. I also said to him, it's also providing you an opportunity to get better at pre-qual, because you need to make sure that the people that you're going to engage with are 8, 9s, and 10s. So I asked them, it was like, I don't know, 60, 70 people on the call. I'm like, hey, how many of you guys really want to be great at this? And they all raised their hand. I'm like, great. Just so you know, this is the environment that's going to allow you to become great, because the marketplace is completely impartial and unforgiving, where if you slack off for a minute, if you think like, oh, I don't need to get good at this price reduction conversation, I promise you'll turn around in 90 days and you'll have no pendings because you have 5 listings with nothing sold. Mm-hmm. Or if you think like, oh, like I can make money and then go on vacation for like a month, dude, the next 90 days is going to be extremely painful for you.
Not only that, but like if you're not getting the price reductions, a lot of times you're going to find yourself doing things that aren't really effective. So you're going to end up putting the property on Homes and Land magazine, spending $1,000 here, doing this other stuff when it's really simple. It's funny because I got a phone call yesterday from one of our other partners, and what he said to me is like, Jose, you're not going to believe it. He's like, you know how we've been working on price reductions? I'm like, yeah. He's like, look, I got 2 price reductions and now like I'm priced very well in comparison to the market, basically. He's like, had I not been working on this skill of price reduction, I don't think that my business would, he said, survive in the marketplace right now. And the reality is that like if we weren't getting price reductions, that really is the case, because you could end up with like 5 or 10 active listings and none of them moving and all the sellers like telling you different things. So let's jump right into it. So here, it's funny because as I am working through these, I am a student of this because I believe that this is one of the skills that Aaron is substantially better than me at.
Did you hear that? If I had something to be like, I would do it. Thank you.
Yeah, we got you back. Okay, so I was doing a price reduction earlier this week, and the guy was like, okay, well, what kind of feedback have we gone from the 2 showings? And the way I thought about it is when I said the feedback, I don't think that it helped the case of getting an adjustment. Like, meaning like one of the feedbacks on the property was that they ended up going for a 2-bedroom unit versus a 1-bedroom unit, Mm-hmm. The other feedback was that the unit just felt small because it's 800 square feet. And he's like, well, that's kind of like weird because a small 1-bedroom is more like 500 or 600. This is actually a pretty large 1-bedroom. So, hey, Aaron, what's the feedback on my property as to why people aren't buying the property? How would you handle that? I'm imagining that, hey, look, like you can give them the feedback, but also make it about price and then lead them back to the direction where you need to lead them.
And here's how you do that. There's a bridge. So it's like, yeah, so, we've been monitoring that and paying very close attention. And we actually have 2 pieces of feedback. I know we sent it over to you via email, but I'm more than happy to go over it with you. The first is they decided to go with a 2-bedroom instead of a 1-bedroom, which is okay. We are not able to add another bedroom, right? The second is they felt that for a 1-bedroom, it was small. Now, I'm aware that, that can be kind of subjective. And that was their feeling. Ultimately, though, as we discussed when we originally connected, how the marketplace lets us know if we're demonstrating value is with showings and a large number of them, right? So like if the marketplace was really agreeing with us in terms of price and product, do you think we would have had 2 showings right now? Do you think we would have had more?
No, we very likely would have had more.
That's exactly right. So the showing activity is telling us something. And then also the way the marketplace tells us if they see enough value is with offers. So what we're seeing is in both of those categories, the showings are not as high as we would like them to be. We'd like them to be like 2 or 3 showings per week. And then we start to see offers come in, and we haven't received an offer as of yet. And when that happens, Jose, there's usually only a few reasons why. I'd like to review them with you. And then we can go over some options that we have at our disposal. And whatever you end up deciding doing, I'll support you 100%. Fair enough?
Okay.
So the first reason is perhaps, I'm not doing my job. I'm just falling asleep at the wheel, not marketing your property effectively. And I know you don't follow me around every day, Jose. At the same time, what I can share with you is we're doing the exact same things that we've done to help 77 families so far this year sell their homes. So we know that works.
79.
Right? Hey, who's counting? I don't know. So that's not it. The second reason is the condition of the property. And you tell me, do you feel like the home is not in good condition?
No, I mean, obviously it needs work. And I mean, we have that option of doing work to it potentially. I mean, do you think we should do some work to it?
That's a really good question, Jose. I take the responsibility that you provided me with very seriously, which is not only to protect the value of your property, but also, provide you with guidance that would ultimately end up helping you to accomplish your goals and objectives. I treat your money as though it was my money. And the only reason that it would make sense to put capital into it is like if we put $1 in, we would get 2 or 3 back. And in this instance, if you remember, when we looked at those comparables, that wasn't really the case. That ones that did have those modifications, if it cost us 25 to do the upgrades, we may be able to get like 30 or 25 out, 28 out. So it's just like an exchange of capital. So I'm in agreement with you that I don't think that is the way to go. And then that leads us with the third option as to why a property is not selling, and that's the price. Now, I did some homework in preparation for this conversation, and I looked at our direct competition, because if somebody's going to look at us, they're going to look at others, right? And I don't know if you're aware of this, but right now for 1-bedrooms in Ventura County, do you know how many are active on the market for sale?
I know.
50.
Okay.
Do you know how many sold in the last 30 days?
I don't.
10. So does that seem like an environment where stuff's like, there's just like a abundance of buyers and everything's flying off the shelf? Or does it seem like an environment that's actually fiercely competitive for those buyers, where buyers actually have a lot of choices and options?
No, the buyers have choices, obviously.
That's right. So just by you saying that demonstrates that you're beginning to recognize that with a high degree of probability, the price is what's causing us to get the lack of showings and offers. So now the question becomes the options that we have at our disposal. Now, before we go over the options, what I'd like to do first is just to revisit like the whole reason why we're doing this, just so I'm clear and I can provide you with information that could be helpful or useful. So refresh my memory. What's the whole purpose and mission behind selling the property?
Well, obviously, like if I'm able to cash out, I think we're kind of like at the peak of the market. So if I'm able to cash out, I'm able to invest the money and deploy it into other things.
Got it. And let's say you cashed out, invested the money, deployed it into other things. What would that do for you?
Well, it would simplify our life.
Okay. And then tell me a little bit about that, like simplifying your life. Like what would you do with the free time?
It would just provide me with extra cash flow, which obviously would be buying back my time, basically.
That's awesome. And then at this stage in your life, how important is that to you, Jose?
It's important. I mean, at the same time, though, I don't want to give like a property away, you know?
Oh, 100%. You know what the great news is, Jose?
What?
I'm not in the business of giving them away. And, we're definitely not going to start with you, right? So my job here is to help you. It's never to twist your arm. My intention in kind of going down this track is just to get clear on what's the end outcome. Because I know for myself, sometimes I can get caught up on how I get there and I can lose focus on like what I'm actually looking to accomplish. And it really sounds like the ultimate goal and objective for you, of course, is to get as much as we possibly can, which is what somebody's willing to pay for it. The second is to reallocate the capital so you can reclaim time. And that'll just like simplify things and perhaps give you a little bit more peace of mind. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, good. So with that being the case, we have a few options. And again, you're the boss. My job is just to help you to make informed decisions, never to talk you to do anything. The first option is we could just leave it the same, the price. Now, more likely than not, this isn't me being negative, Jose, just giving you an accurate assessment, we're probably going to get the same outcome, which the lack of showings and offers on the table. We'll have to revisit this conversation. The second option that you have at your disposal, and it is a drastic option, but I want to make sure we discuss it because it is available to you. Maybe you decide to do something different with it. Hold on to it, rent it out, Airbnb. I don't believe that they allow that in the building, and now based on our initial conversation, I mean, that's not really something you're seriously considering, is it?
No, it maybe renting it out, but not the Airbnb option. That's not.
Yeah. And let's think about that together as a team. So like, because if it makes sense, we'll do it. If not, like, we can reassess. So I know you've had the option of renting it out at your disposal. I'm curious, why did you decide not to use that option and instead decided to put it on the market?
Well, I felt that I can get the $390 for it that we're asking for it right now. And I'm like, look, if I can get that versus a lower amount, then that would basically simplify my life.
I see. And if the goal and objective is to simplify your life, have you been renting it up until this point?
Yeah.
And what was causing you to even okay, so being that it was rented, I'm imagining it was cash flowing for you, yes?
Correct.
So what was causing you to be like, you know what? I don't want to do this.
It's not a significant amount, meaning like it's cash flowing, but the HOA is like $700. It's only renting for $2,200. So it's not like it's not a significant amount per month.
So in other words, it seems like the money that you're making is not in alignment with what it's taking from you time-wise.
Correct.
Okay. And only you can value what your time's worth, Jose. Because what I'm aware of is like we could sit here, forever and try to squeeze out, I don't want to minimize any dollar because we all work hard for every penny. I know I sure do as well. At the same time, you can sit here for, 5 more years before you could sell it at a price you felt more comfortable with. But what would you be giving up in doing
that? Just time.
And only you can decide how valuable it is. So let me ask you this. If you knew through no fault of your own or mine that in order to sell this property and reclaim all of that time, which again, once we spend it, we never ever get it back as time. It's our most valuable asset. If you knew that in order to reclaim that time, that the marketplace was showing us we have to be around 370, do you think you would sell the property?
I was hoping that I would net 370 from the sale. That's kind of what I was hoping.
Yeah. And listen, I'm right there with you, man. Like I want to, while we're at it, let's sell it for 500. You know what I mean? Because like I get compensated more money the more we help you sell it for. And my grandfather taught me something when I was young. He said, Aaron, hope is a beautiful word. It's just not the best business strategy. So the question is like, if that's what it would take and you would net a little bit less than what you were thinking, at the same time, I'm curious, like, are you still coming out ahead based on what you paid for it?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So like you're winning. And you're doubly winning because not only are you making a return on the capital that you initially invested, plus you've made cash flow this whole time, but then you know what you're reclaiming that's more valuable than all of it?
Yeah.
Your time. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. So I guess the question for you is, because that leads us to the third option. We just simply adjust the price. And in doing so, we dramatically increase the probability we can get you an offer in a reasonable amount of time. We can extract the capital, and then we don't have to worry about what's happening in the marketplace or insurance or the dues going up or special assessments. And then, you can reclaim your time and fill it with things that you like and enjoy and reallocate the capital in something that produces more cash for you. So based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, Jose, based on what's important to you at this stage in your life and your desire to reclaim time, what do you think we should do?
Oh, man. What if we increase the price instead and then lower it after we increase it, just to kind of make it seem like somebody's getting a good deal at the 390?
Yeah. I mean, Jose, you're the boss. My job's to help you. It's never to talk you to do anything. Can I share with you what would concern me for you and your family and ultimately how much you end up getting if we choose that approach.
Sure.
So what's really interesting is that now we live in a time where information is completely transparent and available to everybody. So any agent that's worth their grain of salt in the multiple listing service, and even on these online platforms, they have a history of pricing. So somebody can see what's been happening since it's been put on the market for sale. So let's imagine you were a buyer, not a seller, and you were going to buy this place all over again. And you're like, hey, Aaron, this property is kind of interesting to me. I want to know some of the history. And I showed you that they sat on the market, didn't sell, and they raised the price. As a buyer, like, what would you be thinking in your mind?
Why would they do that?
And why would you be thinking that?
I don't know, because they weren't getting offers and then they increased it.
Yeah. And even without thinking, you would know that if they wanted to get an offer, what would they have to do?
Probably lower it.
Probably. And don't you think most buyers would feel pretty similar to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just by you saying that demonstrates that strategy really wouldn't serve you and your family best, because if somebody sees that and then you start coming down again, do you think they're going to start thinking, oh, maybe we can offer something even less?
Yeah, but I mean, wouldn't that happen anyways? Like, meaning, like, if I come down like so drastically to 370, like, doesn't that like raise red flags?
Yeah,
You know,
it's a
like, meaning,
great question. My experience is that the marketplace, because I understand underneath is like your concern is like, look, man, I just don't want to leave any money on the table. And I'm right there. Yeah. And I'm right there with you, man, because I want to help you to net as much as you possibly can, because we make more money when we help you sell it for more. Now, I'm also aware, Jose, that the difference between the adjustment that we're talking about, it does affect you more than it affects me. Like, I am clear on that. What I know to be true, though, is that the marketplace will not allow you to underprice something. Can I explain to you what I mean?
Sure.
Okay, so if 370 is a screaming deal, it is the best deal right now for a one bedroom in Ventura County, what do you think is going to happen in the first week once we make that adjustment?
The activity will probably increase.
I agree. And then what do you think will happen in terms of offers?
We'll probably get some offers on it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It will be more than one. And when people compete, right, for something for sale, who usually ends up winning in that negotiation? The seller or the buyer?
Probably the buyers.
Well,
no. Yeah, no, the seller, yeah.
Yeah, this is good. If I had the button, I'd be like, wah, wah, wah. It's so good. So, yeah, the sellers. And why is that?
Because they got competition.
Yeah. And what ends up happening is they compete. And usually what happens to the price?
It gets better.
Yeah. So for that reason, Jose, it sounds like you're beginning to realize that, like, it's impossible to underprice it. If it's a great value, we're going to force people to compete. And what's going to happen is what's going to percolate to the surface is the most that somebody's willing to pay. And as you know, I don't need to tell you what something's worth is what somebody's willing to pay for it. Does that make sense to you?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So with all that being said, I guess the question is what do you think we should do?
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, but here's the thing, though, Aaron. Like, right now at the 390, I'm actually the lowest price one bedroom on the market. You know?
Yeah.
And at 370, the lowest one sold at, let's say, 380. Why would I go down to 370 when the lowest one sold at 380 and we're already the lowest price one bedroom on the market?
Great question. So price, Jose, is a snapshot in time, right? Because the marketplace is fluid. It's not static. What's also true is I think we all operate under the assumption that real estate always goes up. Now, you've been through a lot of cycles. Is that always the case?
No.
Now, what I like to do is, I don't have a crystal ball, and anybody who tells you that they do is not being honest. They're probably trying to sell you something. What I do like to focus on is patterns and seeing the direction that things are going in. So what I'd like to review is a couple things. One that happened on a macro level, and then two, what's happening on the micro level with inventory. And then we can decipher together as a team the pattern and which direction it's showing us the marketplace is headed in, and also our experience as well. We have 3 different variables. Will that be okay?
Sure.
All right. So the first thing that happened 2 weeks ago that hasn't happened in 100 years is that the credit rating of the United States of America was downgraded from perfect AAA to now it's AA1. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. Now, when you think about it, like for us, me and you, if our credit rating goes down, what happens to the amount of interest we have to pay?
Usually goes up.
That's right. So the way that this works through the economic system is we borrow money to be able to fund our activities as a country. And what we do is we issue bonds. But now that our credit rating is lower, do you think we have to increase the interest that we offer to investors to compensate for the fact that we're seen as more risky?
Probably.
Yes. So what that means is that that'll affect the 10-year treasury note, which ultimately affects interest rates. So everybody's been hoping and wishing and praying that interest rates were going to come down. And it really seems as though that's not going to be the case. It's going to stay this high for longer. That's the first thing. And that affects demand, right? The second thing we're seeing is micro is at our level. Do you know what's been happening to the inventory of condos over the last 12 months?
I don't.
You tell me, Jose, the timeout. Is it going up?
It's going up, but not like to alarming rates.
I get it, but it is ticking up.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what we're seeing is that the inventory is actually ticking up. It's hasn't like exploded, but it is 18%, 20%, 25% higher than what it was year over year. Now, when inventory goes up and demand stays the same or goes down, what usually happens to prices, Jose?
Probably goes down.
That's exactly right. And then the third factor is we have our own direct experience. So we saw somebody decided to look at us and make an offer somewhere else. That shows us that they saw more value somewhere else than they did with us. And that was for a 2-bedroom. That was probably priced pretty similar to us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I look at that total picture, which direction does it show me that the marketplace is headed?
Yeah, but I mean, the other one just sold like literally 3 months ago at 380.
I get it. Now, the thing to consider about that, remember, price is a snapshot in time, Jose. So if it went under contract, if it closed 3 months ago, do you know what that means?
No.
It usually takes 45 or 60 days to close. So that means that's actually a 5-month-old comp, not a 3-month-old comp. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So it's a snapshot, you see? So what my general concern is, Jose, for you, ultimately, if you do decide to sell this property, the only reason it would make sense to wait to make this adjustment is if we waited, we'd be able to get more money. Would you agree?
I would agree 100%.
Yeah. And when we look at all of these data points that we just looked at, while it's possible, does it seem probable that if we wait, we'd be able to get more? Or is it more probable that if we wait based on these headwinds, it could mean less?
Yeah. There's a risk factor.
There is 100%. And that's what my concern is for you and your family. So if the goal and objective is for you to sell this property, do you think it makes sense to do it sooner or later?
Probably sooner.
I agree. So with that being the case, do I have your permission to go ahead and put this adjustment in at 370?
Yes, you do.
Let's go.
Hold on.
There you go.
Hey, bro, do you hear horses
going
around here? You know?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was good though, because you just kept going. That's good.
Yeah, I was gonna stop, but then I'm like, okay, like let me keep going on this.
What were your takeaways from that? Because I saw you writing stuff down.
Yeah, I wrote down out. There was a couple key ones, where it was like, look, it's a snapshot in time. That was good. All of them were good. To be honest, I didn't actually write down like, hey, look what I was taking away from it, because I'm actually going to go back and transcribe it and then pick at it. But there's like what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, that would be a good one-liner to add. Oh, or this would be, it redirects it back to this. the credit rating dropping. I didn't know that at all.
You didn't even know that?
I didn't know that. No.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know that it dropped.
First time in 100 years, bro. Dropped from AAA, which is perfect, like an 800 credit score or whatever, 820, whatever the top is. Now it's AA1, which again, if you understand the economic machine, the way we fund everything is by issuing bonds. But now that we're considered more risky from a credit perspective, we have to give investors higher interest rates to compensate them for the risk, which is going to filter into, again, 10-year treasury notes and filters into mortgages. So with a high degree of probability, the environment that we're in is going to persist. I sat on a group call, Jose, and somebody DM'd me afterwards, like this week. I was like, hey, let me ask you a question. Is your skill set and your business designed to weather 5 more years of this environment? If the answer is no, like, you got to get to work.
Yeah.
But this conversation that we just had, Jose, it's like mastering that, I believe, is the key to agents moving forward. It's the difference between staying in the business or not.
100%. Yeah.
Much less like thriving or like crushing it. But like, it's really, I have to get a job or I can stay to be a real estate agent.
Not only that, but a lot of agents will start basically imagining like that example of Jose that was like, look, like nothing is selling. And then it's like, that's not accurate. You know, there is stuff that is selling 100%. It just is the marketplace agreeing with what you have to offer at the present moment.
And imagine me, the way that I've developed that, the way that I know that that's true is when I was selling real estate in 08, 09, bro, 50% of everything on the market in Florida was a foreclosure or a short sale. There were 20,000 homes on the market in one county. But what's wild is every single day I would go into the marketplace, find somebody that wanted to sell, help them discover where they need to be at price-wise, and it would sell. So I know. So when Jose said that to me on the call, Jose Salazar, he was like, yeah, bro, like I want to be a listing agent, but like I see people listing property and nothing's moving. I'm like, dude, that's an error in judgment. What you're really not recognizing is the reason it's not moving is because it's revealing a lack of skill in terms of pre-qual, in terms of presenting price, in terms of doing what I just did with the price adjustment, in terms of negotiating offers that come in less than the asking price, because that's going to happen more often than not. Dude, I had a lady who came to our last event where I was talking about pricing. She's like, bro, I got an offer, came in like $40,000 below the asking price. And she was like, didn't want to talk to him. Like it came in and didn't even want to present. And I'm like, okay, you have to, and what I think is true is that the last, I don't know, 2020, for a long time, dude, from probably like 2018 to like 2022, you didn't really have to be good, bro. You didn't really have to be skilled. You could work a little bit, fluff off, and you jump back in the market and find a deal and make money. You didn't have to pre-qual at a high level. You didn't have to be good at price adjustments. You didn't have to be good at presenting price. And like, you know, I asked the crowd, I was like, hey, when you have offers coming in full price, removing all contingencies and paying over the asking price above appraisal, how skillful do you need to be to present that?
You're not really negotiating.
My son can do it. Sebastian, he's 14. Like, how hard is that? It's not hard. This is something entirely different. And I think this is great because we've captured it for posterity where people can go back and listen. Bro, you kept going. Bro, most people, once they get hit once, they crumble. But you kept going. You kept throwing things at me, right? One after the other, after the other. And notice I would address it, handle it, bring you back. Address it, handle it, bring you back. And when you were like, yeah, can we start higher? Not losing my patience. And wanting to freak out and be like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. But be like, yeah, of course, man, we could do that. That's an option. And hanging in there with you. I never once lost my patience, but like, I feel like that's part of it too.
Yeah. Here's what I was going to ask you. So let's go over a couple different scenarios. And just so you know, like not only is it price reductions, but when we're in escrow, we're getting hit up with like requests, like decently large requests. And sometimes, bro, for no reason. Like I had
just because they can.
Bro, I had an offer at $3.3 million and we opened up escrow and no reason whatsoever. Like one of the appraisals came in at 3.3, the other one came in at 3,150,000, but we could have contested it. We had enough comps to get it at 3.3, but they're just like, look, we just want a price reduction of $150,000. Otherwise, we're walking. And I had to go back to that seller and basically tell him, look, like, these are your options. It's very unlikely that we put it back on the market that I'll be able to get you something better than 3,150,000 just based on the activity that we had. And he had to make a decision. Okay, do I want to close it out at 3,150,000 and be done with it? And he had carrying costs of like $8,000, $9,000, and he decided to do it basically. But it was almost like, how? He's like, how can they? I'm like, look, the request is not logical. It's emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, like like you're right. It's not a valid request. And I've had situations like this where there's no reason to do it other than, hey, we're going to lose them if we don't abide by it.
Hey, but think about what's happening. So it's actually a shift, because me and you both remember, bro, 2021, 2022.
From sellers were doing the same thing, but backwards.
Oh my God, sellers are being wildly unreasonable, bro. They're like, hey, we're only going to accept your offer if you remove all contingencies. If you remove the appraisal contingency, if you agree to pay us $25, $50, $100,000 above what it appraised for, bro, it's so greedy. It's wild. So what you're seeing now is the pendulum shift, where now if inventory's sitting for longer, now the
buyers are doing the same thing now.
They're doing the same thing, bro. It's leverage. So our job is to sit in between them and unemotionally, without ego, present options and choices, bring them back to what's true, help them to manage their emotions. You'll notice, like, as I was doing that too, I was connecting you with like what you really, really wanted, which is time. And I'm like, look, dude, only you can decide how much your time's worth. Like, only you. And being unattached to the outcome. But like, it's just new for a lot of agents because they've never experienced it.
Yeah.
An environment where buyers have so much leverage.
I had a different one where we were closing escrow, bro, and the wire never showed up at 1.3, and we get a text message, hey, the buyers had a change of heart. They're walking on the closing day. I had that happen back in 2018. Luckily, we had already removed all contingencies on it, you know?
So the deposit was at risk. Yeah.
It was $50,000. They ended up closing on it, but their deposit was at risk. Otherwise, they might have just walked. So even then, like, it's like, okay, look, if you're representing the sellers, making sure that you're getting contingencies removed, because some people are a little bit on the squirmy side, you know?
Yeah, and make sure that deposits are juicy.
Yeah.
Like, they're juicy enough. You know? Yeah, dude, if it's 10, they'd be like, all right, take it. Like, but like 50, they're not walking away from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, these are all like, again, this market is becoming increasingly, it has been, I just think people haven't like been paying attention to it fully with the urgency that it desires. Bro, it's becoming like 1,000% skill.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a different objection.
All right. So let's say that there's new construction. There's nothing selling in the community, right? Let's say that last comp sold at 830. We're listed at 830 as well too. But there's like this new construction development that's listed for like 800, and they're offering like incentives basically on the property.
Bro, I can't pay attention, bro. I'm too distracted by the
Oh, it's so funny, right?
It's good. Anyway, so there's two things. What I got from it. One has new construction with it. Like, say it again. I don't know.
So let's say that last model match sold at 830 in the community. You're listed at 830, and there's a newer development that's also, let's say, listed at 830, but they're brand new units basically.
Yeah.
So, and they're offering incentives, and you're getting crickets on yours basically.
Yeah. So, I was really thinking about this and scratching my head, right, in preparation for connecting with you, because I know you have a really nice product, and we positioned it in alignment with the marketplace at the time, because price is a snapshot in time. And I've done a lot of homework. I've gotten a lot of kind of information, got a lot of feedback, and I'm prepared to give you the information that you need so you can make an executive decision that will allow you to get this property under contract in the next 30 days. Fair enough?
Fair enough, yeah.
All right. So in doing this homework and research, we have a couple data points that we can look at. The first data point is showing activity. Okay. And I know that we've been updating you regularly. Are you familiar with how many showings we've had so far?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's good in the sense that what we're doing is working. We're driving traffic into the property. We've also had about 500 views online, which is also good. It's kind of an invitation to look. We want to see showings at around 2 to 3 showings per week. And we're really not getting that. And in fact, it's actually beginning to concern me because it's not that much at all, right? We've had like 1 showing, like we're kind of hearing crickets. So the question is why? And, one might be, maybe I'm not doing my job. I'm just like falling asleep at the wheel, And I can tell you that we're doing everything we've done to help 79 families so far this year, sell their homes. So I know that that's not it. The second is market dynamics. So if you were, let me ask you a question. If you were a buyer and you were going to buy a new construction home, do you think you would look at homes solely, only homes that were a year old? Or do you think if there was another community that was brand new, you might look at those as well?
No, we'd look at the brand new homes as well.
That's right. And let's imagine a scenario in which a resale new construction that's maybe like a year or 2 old, where they're asking the same amount as a actual new construction, like 2025 property.
Yeah.
Which one do you think you may gravitate towards?
Well, I don't know what others would gravitate to, but I actually don't like new construction, I just don't like them. I bought a resale myself, like it was a year old when I bought it. And the thing about the new constructions is they don't have any hardscape, like you still got to go in there and drop $40,000 in landscaping just to get it hardscaped,
Yeah. And I appreciate that. And that's operating under the assumption that everybody wants similar kind of landscaping and things of that nature. And while I'm respectful of what you're saying to me, that for you personally, brand new may not be your thing, what I'm aware of is when given the option between older and new, the vast majority of people pick new. Now, what's actually like interesting, so right now we're at 830 and our direct competitor is the Hills new construction.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a product right now that's 830. So somebody has a brand new home for the same price as one that's 2 years old. Now, what's also really interesting about that is, do you know how much they're offering in concessions?
I don't.
They're offering up to 5% of the purchase and sales price. Now, what that equals is at that price, I mean, it's like almost 50 grand. Now, what that allows a buyer to do is to permanently buy down their interest rate. So let's think about this for a moment. So if somebody bought your home and they put 20% down, their mortgage would be like $5,000 a month.
Okay.
Well, if somebody bought that home and they use those 5% concessions to permanently buy down the rate, their mortgage would be $3,500 a month.
Got it.
So not only is somebody getting a new home, they're getting it because of the cost of money, it's cheaper. Does that make sense to you?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the headwinds that we're facing. So we have a couple options and choices at our disposal. I'd like to review them with you. Whatever you decide, I'll support you, okay? Now, before I go over the options, refresh my memory. Like, what's the motivation? Like, what's the goal and objective of even selling this home to begin with? Because it is lovely.
Yeah, it's basically to do a 1031 exchange and basically buy another property or just cash out, basically, and maybe just simplify my life. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, but so it sounds like the two options are reallocate the capital towards another piece of property or just take the cash out.
Correct.
Okay, and either one of those would benefit you how?
If I do a 1031 exchange, my goal eventually, not now, because obviously it's an exchange, my goal maybe in 3-5 years would be to buy something that maybe I can move into it at some point.
I see. Okay. So that would provide like some security and stuff. And then if you just cashed out, you could use the money and just simplify things.
To eventually buy a personal residence.
Okay. So both are towards the goal of getting a personal residence.
Correct.
I understand. And tell me what that would do for you long-term to have the personal residence, perhaps paid off.
It'd be nice to have a single level.
Okay, good. So a single level as we get older, that's always better. Okay. So I'm clear on that. And tell me this, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being, nah, whatever. Like if it happens, it happens. If not, I'm perfectly fine. I'll keep this property forever. 10 being like, no, like I'm gonna get this single level. And here's the reasons why. How would you rate your motivation on a scale from 1 to 10 to make it happen?
Probably say like a 7.
Okay. And what would it take for you to be a 9 or a 10?
I think the price would obviously like I want to do it, but I don't want to feel like I'm giving the property away.
Yeah, I get that. And I want to be clear, I'm not in the business of giving properties away. We're certainly not going to start with yours. The reason I'm asking is just to get really clear on like, you know, what the main goal and objective is. Because I know for myself, sometimes I can get caught up in how I get to the goal and objective, when in fact, what's really important is just that I get there, right? So we have a couple options at our disposal now that I'm clear. The first option is we leave the price the same, Jose. And in doing that with a high degree of probability, just based on what we've seen, our direct experience, based on what the competition's doing, which is our direct competitor, who's offering basically a newer product at a lower price because the cost of money is cheaper, because of the concessions, we're going to have showings and no offers, or very few showings. We'll keep hearing crickets. And that's not me being negative, it's just an accurate assessment of reality. The second option, it is a drastic option, Jose, and I want to make sure we discuss it because it is available to you. Maybe take it off the market. Maybe this home becomes the home that you move into. Now, I know that's problematic because it has 2 stories. And then the third option is that we just simply allow ourselves to be competitive by adjusting the price. So that way, if somebody's going to look between ours and that brand new construction, they have a compelling reason to choose us versus somebody else's.
What are you suggesting that we adjust to?
I appreciate you asking, man. I really do. And I want you to be clear that I take this responsibility very seriously, which is to protect the value of your property, help you get any penny possible. I wouldn't propose or suggest an adjustment unless the marketplace was showing us is required, and that's what I'm seeing. So we have 2 options. One is we make an adjustment that'll put us in a category where we sell. The other is where it just makes us competitive. So if right now they're at 830 and they're offering 5% concessions, they're really asking what?
790.
That's right. Actually, well, let's do this. So 830 times 0.05 is 41,000 minus 830. They're actually asking 7088. Yeah. So at a minimum, if we make an adjustment there, we're competitive, but they still have something over us, which is that they're newer. So if we wanted to, so one option is we make that and we're competitive, we see what happens. The second option is we make ourselves the standout, where somebody would definitely choose us versus somebody else. We can compensate them for the fact that, yeah, we're a little bit newer. What I know is an appraiser will give you, timeout, how much does an appraiser give you per year in California?
I don't even know what that is.
It's probably like a 0.5 point is what I would tell people. That's what it was in Florida per year. So that means it's $39,000 per year. Times 2 is like 78 grand. Yeah. So, and this is where I would want to know this, Jose, before I even talk to them.
So meaning like how much like an appraiser would give you like an adjustment, like if the property is like 2 years newer or just brand new construction?
No. So like, cause usually they have, well, at least in Florida anyway, and I'm sure they have adjustments for age. Yeah. It's like a 0.5 point per year.
For anything, not even brand new construction.
Yeah, for anything. It's just like a blanket, right?
So like, let's say it's a 10-year. Does that mean it's like a 10-year adjustment?
Yeah, or like not like a 0.5 point. It's like half of a like 0.005.
Yeah,
yeah. So when you get to that number and you multiply it out, like that's going to tell me where we actually need to be, because making the adjustment to 788, now we're on the same.
So in 2 years, it's 1% basically adjustment.
Yeah, let's say that. So if
in 10 years, it's 5% basically.
Yeah. So think about that though. So like sense. At the 1% at 788, that's like $70,000.
No, it's not. It's like 7,000.
Hey, watch realtors do math. You know what I'm saying?
It's 7,000 approximately.
Yeah, whatever. So then we probably need to make an adjustment. Let's say like 15 below that or something like that, or 20 below that, for people to see, oh, this is they're compensating me for the fact that this is not as new.
Well, I was role playing with another realtor, and he would always say something that like if there's like a community that is brand new and there's a resale, that Matt Green, that his dad would say that a 10% adjustment was basically the difference between a brand new and a
which
resale.
Is cool, because what this is doing, that's essentially what we're working out. We're just doing it in pieces. So times 10% at 830 is $83,000. So yeah. 830 minus $83,000, 747.
747 now.
So we were kind of getting there. We're just backing into it in a different way.
I thought when I role played it, I was like, oh, you know, I make adjustments for busy streets, you know, and I make adjustments for like things back into like train tracks or stuff like that. I was like, I never thought about making an adjustment for a brand new construction versus a resale.
Oh,
But
100%.
it makes sense that
Oh.
you would make that adjustment. And it's funny because this is actually a situation from one of our agents that we have in our office. And when he said that to me, I'm like, oh. And that's why I wanted to throw it out there because I'm right now there's a couple builders and there's some development going on in our area, which just adds to the inventory. So I'm imagining that in other areas, this is happening and that other agents are wanting to have these conversations as well.
And that's who resale is competing with.
Yeah.
And they're offering the concessions. So here's what's cool. My little like half a point, I guess I was right. So the half a point times what we talked about was 39,000 per year. Times 2 is $78,000, like the 83.
Well,
like we're getting to the same amount. You know what I mean?
No, but half, like you're saying 5%, or
no,
you're
half of
saying
a point, half of 1%.
half of 1% doesn't add up though to that, bro.
It does, dude. Look, 788 times 0.05 is 39,000 times 2.
You're multiplying it by 5%. 0.05 is 5%.
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad. So let's see.
Because just multiply it by 1%. If you multiply it by 1%, it would be basically like $7,800, basically.
Correct. So, but that 10 like exactly. So
come on, bro. Come on.
But this is what I would definitely give value for the new construction, and that's the path. That's the path I would head down.
So it could be anywhere from 5 to 10% potentially.
Right. It could be anywhere from 5 to 10%, which makes sense because if we're at 830 and
now let me
you're offering 5% concessions, we need to be at 788 just to be competitive.
Now let's say that somebody did upgrade the hardscape. Like, could you say like 10% plus maybe like adding back like 30,000 for like hardscape or 40,000 for hardscape at that point?
Well, what I would say to that is like, all right, well, because it's kind of subjective, right? Like it needs to be hardscape, but like to what degree? Because I know when you did your hardscape and you spent a little bit of money, more money than most people would. So it's like, it's subjective, right? So what I would say is like, yeah, well, let me ask you a question. Do all homes need to be hardscaped?
No.
Okay. So then let's say a buyer bought that new construction and they decided not to hardscape it. How much value does it have to them?
But then that's not the right buyer for me at that point.
Yeah, which I appreciate. You know, at the same time, if we operate under the assumption that we're just looking for, like, let me ask you a question. How do you think we're going to maximize value? If we find a needle in the haystack in terms of a buyer, or we attract all buyers?
Yeah, obviously we want to attract all buyers, but we need to find a buyer that appreciates everything that our property has to offer. You know, like our home is not like your regular home down the street. It's obviously we've invested a lot of money into the property.
Yeah, I understand. And what I'm also aware of is like, let me ask you this. Have you ever been inside of somebody's home and they were sharing with you a lot of like the things that they were really excited about the home? And when you left, you looked at your significant other and you're like, man, like I wouldn't do that. I didn't like all the colors. I didn't like this or that. Has that ever happened to you?
It has, yeah.
Yeah. And why is that?
Well, it's different than what I would have done.
Ah, I see. And do you think it's possible that some buyers will come inside of your home and say, hey, that's different than what I would have done?
Yeah, I think that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also probable, right? Because we all have our own tastes and things of that nature. So, you know, what I'm aware of is the headwinds that we're facing is we have a new construction property right now that's brand new at 830 and they're offering 5% concessions, meaning they can permanently buy down the rate. So it makes them have a new product for the same price, but because of the cost of money, it's less. If somebody buys your home, let me ask you a question. If you were a buyer and you could buy a resale home at 830 with your mortgage being $5,500 a month, or you could buy a brand new construction home with your mortgage payment being $3,500 a month, which do you think you would probably gravitate towards?
Well, obviously the more monthly payment makes it more attractive, but it would be the one that I like better, you know?
Yeah, I get that. At the same time, do you think the monthly payment would influence you in some way?
It would, yeah.
Yeah, and most people it does. So we have a choice to make, and it's entirely up to you. We can either leave the price the same, cross our fingers, and hope and wish and pray that we find the needle in the haystack. Now, this isn't me being negative, just an accurate assessment of reality with a high degree of probability. We'll continue to get showings, we'll get no offers. And, you know, you'll have to make an executive decision whether to take it off the market or rent it or do something different with it. The second option is we just simply make an adjustment to allow ourselves to be competitive. Because Jose, I'd much rather put you in a situation where we can get you offers and you can flat out say no than be in a situation where we're not even getting offers or showings. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what do you think we should do?
Well, what I notice is the polite confrontation when somebody says something illogical. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. So I noticed that, like, I was like, well, look, like I would go for the one that I like better, which that's a way of them really avoiding the question. They're just avoiding it. And your follow-up was that, look, I get that. At the same time, would the monthly payment have any influence in your decision? And it's like, well, yes. And I noticed that you did it earlier as well, too, where somebody said where I said something that was illogical. And then you're like, well, I understand and I get that. At the same time, do you believe that most buyers would agree with that or something along those lines?
Yeah. So it's a willingness to, when they say something illogical, to, again, politely confront them about it. Like, yeah, listen, I understand that, like, you love your brown shag carpet. You know, I personally, yeah, like I can see why you like it. At the same time, I guess I'm curious, is it possible that somebody might come in and be like, hey, I'm probably going to rip all that out and replace it? And they'd be quiet and they'd be like, well, yeah, I don't see why they would. It's like, well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been inside of somebody's house and been like, they're bragging about all the stuff that they like and, you know, kind of showing off to you. And as soon as you walk out, you're like, I wouldn't have done that. I don't like those colors. I don't like the taste. Has that ever happened? They're like, yeah.
It has, yeah.
Yeah. And why does that happen? Well, we all have our own unique tastes. Exactly. So just by you saying that demonstrates that you recognize that I understand clearly that this adds a lot of value to you and it's your personal preference, that for the vast majority of people, they're probably going to see it as something they need to replace. So if you walked into somebody's house and you recognize that you were going to have to replace stuff, what are you mentally doing to the amount that you're going to offer?
Basically lower it.
Yeah. And don't you think most buyers feel pretty similar to you?
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. So just by saying that you recognize that an adjustment is in order in terms of the price, the question is just simply how much.
Yeah.
Now we get into that conversation. Just asking questions. Yeah. Polite confrontation.
That makes sense. Cool, man.
Is there anything else that you think would be helpful to our viewers?
Only that I get a stream deck like that, and then it's going to be on like Donkey Kong, bro.
I know. Could you imagine both of us role playing in this voice all day long? You know,
Hey.
like.
Is it my normal voice or off right now?
It's the high one. Hey, yes, hi. My name is Aaron. In that voice, that's funny, dude.
That's funny.
Awesome, bro. Well, listen, I hope this is helpful to you. If it is, share it with somebody. We teach tactics, you know, because most people don't. We're entering into an environment and a marketplace where tactics are becoming increasingly more important. It's 100% skill based. If you don't have these skills, it's going to become increasingly more difficult for you. But the great news is, guys, is if you have ever said to yourself, I want to be world class at this, you're now presented with an unbelievable opportunity to become world class, to actually hone and refine your skills, to get really good at pre-qual, to get really good at presenting price, to get really good at price reductions, to get really good at presenting offers that come in less than the asking price. And once you have those skills, guys, nobody can ever, I repeat, ever take them away from you.
Not only that, but I think what's helpful to them, and we're going to continue working on price and motivation, which I think is going to be like really helpful in whatever. So if you go back to the Friday calls that we do, this is probably our 4th or 5th one on price and motivation. So we're going to continue having this topic specifically because I believe that this is what agents are looking for right now.
Yeah, it's what they need.
Yeah.
Even if they're not looking for it, they need it. So
yeah.
Let's go. Let's grow. We'll talk soon. Peace.